World War II killed more than 70 million people, but some deaths were so horrifying that even veteran soldiers feared them. Men burned alive inside tanks, crews trapped at the bottom of the ocean, civilians suffocating inside firestorms, and people who simply vanished after a single explosion. Today, you're about to see 10 real deaths from World War II that sound like something out of a horror movie. And some of these stories are still disturbing even today. 10. DHE Submarine Destroyed BY ITS O-bound torpedo, October 1944. The Pacific Ocean was completely consumed by war. The American submarine USS Tang was considered one of the deadliest submarines in the American fleet. That night, the crew located Japanese ships. The commander ordered the launch of one final torpedo. But something went wrong. The torpedo suddenly began turning. Inside the submarine, the sailors realized the impossible. The weapon was coming back. Seconds later, the torpedo struck the USS Tang itself. The explosion instantly destroyed part of the submarine. Lights went out. Compartments flooded rapidly. Men became trapped between twisted metal walls. As the submarine sank, some sailors could hear the steel hull cracking under the crushing pressure of the ocean. Others died, trapped in total darkness, unable to escape. Only a few survived. To this day, the USS Tang is remembered as one of the most terrifying naval accidents of the war. 9. VHE Firestorm OF Hamburg, July 1943. The German city of Hamburg was about to experience hell on earth. The British bombing campaign, known as Operation Gomorrah, dropped thousands of incendiary bombs across the city. At first, it seemed like another air raid, but then the fire began consuming everything. Buildings, streets, underground shelters. The heat became so intense that it created a firestorm. Winds dragged people directly into the flames. Many civilians ran into underground shelters believing they would be safe. But the oxygen slowly disappeared. Entire families suffocated in darkness. Others burned alive in the streets. Witnesses described bodies being carbonized almost instantly. The heat was so extreme that even the asphalt began melting in some areas. More than 30,000 people died. Survivors later said the entire city looked like hell itself. 8. Soldiers, Buride, Alive, Owen Idaho Jima. The Battle of Iwo Jima became one of the most brutal battles of the Pacific War. The Japanese knew victory was almost impossible, so they built massive tunnel systems beneath the volcanic island. Soldiers lived underground, waiting for American forces to advance. But the bombardments never stopped. Explosions collapsed, entrances and exits. Many soldiers became trapped underground forever. No light, no food, no water. Some survived for days, maybe even weeks, in complete darkness. Imagine hearing explosions above your head without knowing if anyone would ever open that tunnel again. Many died slowly beneath the island. Some bodies were not discovered until decades after the war ended. 7. The HE, Ship WH Ausensvraz Todage, January 1945. The massive German ship Wilhelm Gustloff carried thousands of people fleeing the Soviet advance. There were civilians, children, and wounded soldiers on board. The ship crossed the Baltic Sea during the night. Then a Soviet submarine attacked. 3 torpedoes slammed into the Wilhelm Gustloff. Chaos erupted instantly. Hallways became overcrowded. People were crushed trying to escape. Others became trapped inside the ship as it slowly sank. But the worst horror waited outside. The water was nearly freezing. Thousands fell into the dark ocean. Within minutes, the cold began killing them. Parents lost children in the water. Children froze to death in their mother's arms. It became the deadliest maritime disaster in history. One of the most desperate deaths of World War II. 6. Pilots burning alive inside Tier A aircraft. During the air battles of World War II, many pilots never died instantly after being shot down. Fighter planes carried massive amounts of fuel. When bullets struck the fuel tanks, the aircraft could burst into flames within seconds. Some pilots tried desperately to open the cockpit while the fire melted parts of the plane around them. Others jumped too late. Witnesses described burning pilots falling through the sky before their parachutes could even open. In some cases, parachutes themselves caught fire midair. For bomber crews, the situation was even worse. Heavy bombers could become flying furnaces after being hit by anti-aircraft fire. Some crew members were trapped inside as the aircraft slowly broke apart above Europe. 5. MEN trapped inside sinking submarines. Submarine warfare created some of the most horrifying deaths of the entire war. When submarines were hit by depth charges, they did not always explode immediately. Sometimes they slowly sank into the darkness of the ocean. Inside, the crew waited helplessly. Lights flickered. Water leaked through damaged pipes. The steel hull groaned under the crushing pressure. Many sailors survived for hours trapped underwater. Some wrote final messages to their families while oxygen slowly disappeared. Others sat silently in complete darkness, waiting for the submarine to implode. Several wrecks discovered after the war still contained the remains of sailors at their stations. 4. WWII Human Shadows OF Hiroshima, August 1945. A single atomic bomb exploded above Hiroshima. The heat near the center of the blast became hotter than the surface of the sun. Thousands of people vanished instantly. Some victims left only dark shadows burned into walls, stairs, and sidewalks. Others survived the initial explosion but suffered horrifying injuries afterward. Skin peeled from their bodies. Hair fell out in clumps. People wandered through the destroyed city, covered in burns, asking for water before collapsing in the streets. Many had no idea they were dying from radiation poisoning. It was a type of death humanity had never seen before. 3. Japanes, soldiers, Byrnde alive, BY flammetwers. During battles in the Pacific, American forces often faced Japanese soldiers hiding inside bunkers and tunnels. To clear these positions, flamethrowers were used. The weapons sprayed burning fuel directly into enclosed spaces. Inside the bunkers, temperatures became unbearable within seconds. Oxygen disappeared rapidly. Some soldiers burned alive instantly. Others suffocated from the heat and smoke deep underground. Survivors later described hearing screams echoing from tunnels long after the flames stopped. Many bunkers became sealed, tombs filled with burned bodies. 2. WHE Sirau WHO burned inside tanks. Tank crews feared fire more than enemy bullets. Inside a tank were ammunition shells, fuel, oil, and almost no space to escape. When an enemy shell penetrated the armor, the entire vehicle could ignite instantly. Crew members often had only seconds to escape. Some became trapped when damaged hatches jammed shut. Others survived the initial explosion only to burn alive inside the metal vehicle. Witnesses described hearing screams coming from destroyed tanks long after battles ended. In the Eastern Front, burned tank crews became such a common sight that soldiers developed a terrifying nickname for destroyed tanks, Steel Coffins 1. WHE firebombing OF Tokyo, March 1945. American bombers dropped thousands of incendiary bombs over Tokyo. Within minutes, entire neighborhoods were engulfed in flames. Wooden buildings turned the city into a massive inferno. The fire spread so quickly that many people became trapped in the streets. Some jumped into rivers to escape the heat. Thousands drowned. Others suffocated as the fire consumed all oxygen around them. The temperatures became so extreme that people collapsed where they stood. Families disappeared together inside burning homes. More than 100,000 people died in a single night. It remains one of the deadliest and most horrifying air raids in human history. World War II changed humanity forever, but beyond the battles and victories, there were deaths so terrifying that even survivors struggled to speak about them for the rest of their lives.